Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Lum. I've been an oncologist in Ventura County for 21 years. I started a company, or thought of it, 3 years ago called Renewed Hope, because 1 in 5 patients will either be mistreated or misdiagnosed. I am wearing this white coat because I've known I'd wanted to be a doctor since I was age 7. And it was because my dad asked me a question: do you want to be a doctor or a bum? So meet my patient who I treated or helped 3 years ago, and he is one of hundreds I've helped. He's a 38-year-old who was biopsied for a sore on his tongue. He was told that he had a tongue cancer. Without any workup, he went to a major university in LA. They told him, you need tongue surgery, and we're basically going to take out your tongue. You won't be able to talk or swallow. He called me in a panic, and basically I told him, okay, well, you need an MRI first. He got the MRI, had 3 neck nodes involved. They still told him, you need your tongue taken out. We have a robotic surgeon. He's done 2 of these, and you could be the 3rd. I did all the research and basically showed that chemoradiation had the same cure rate as surgery without having your tongue taken out. 3 years later, he's disease-free with the chemoradiation, and he still has his tongue. So the problem is there will be 1.7 million new cases this year. The number of cancer cases will double in the next 10 years, where because of all the changes coming, the number of doctors will decrease. So the other problem is fee-for-service. Our current method of payment puts too much emphasis on the physician makes money by treating patients. So where you enter the system, you see somebody, they want to do something. So if you see a surgeon, they will cut. Up to 20% of all cancer cases are either misdiagnosed or mistreated. Next. So the other problem that you have is that not all physicians are equal, but the public basically doesn't know this. It's critical to work with a cancer specialist that's board certified. There are non-board certified physicians that are out there and have practiced for many years, but the public can't find them. I did a search on someone I know that is not, and you put his name, you put not board certified, nothing comes up. So the solution is basically to have, and this is the future, a timely, individualized expert consultation service for a person that basically has a patient advocate with no conflict of interest. So unlike the doctor that you see that wants to do something, wouldn't it be nice if you could get an opinion where that person has no financial interest, how you get treated, but basically gives you the best treatment. So next, we will gather all the patient's information and help them decide what the best treatment would be. If basically it's something super complex, and sometimes that happens, having been in the field 21 years and having access to a lot of experts, both in LA and around the US, you can basically access that person. Because I'm an expert in the field, I can make a phone call, run the case by them. For them, the reason why everything slows them down is the medical records and the fact that how long it would take for a patient to get to them. Since they don't speak the same language, the patient basically won't get the information they need in a timely manner. The ultimate in this will be a virtual tumor board where you could take people from MD Anderson, Mass General, that specialize in a very specific cancer, have a virtual tumor board of the world's greatest minds. So in the current plan, you can enter the system anywhere along the way, and there are many pathways that a person can take. Some of them good, some less optimal. The problem is our current narrow focus. You see a family doctor, you see a surgeon, they have their plan, they execute their plan, but this may not be the best treatment for the patient. So a better approach is Renewed Hope, where we do the research and the analysis ahead of time, tell the patient, we give them a written report, next slide. And so in terms of the opportunity analysis, there is a website called grandrounds.com that is using a similar model, but for all of medicine. their first year investments, they have received $155 million in funding. Basically, I could start this company for $100,000. Most of it would be in marketing. So the return on investment, basically I'd get my money back if I saw one patient a month. If I saw one patient a week, much more than that. Next. So we will also use it. So most of it will be in marketing. How do you find the cancer patients? Many of them are afraid, and it's a scary diagnosis. But the message is use an expert to find the answers you need. People try to look on the internet all the time and think they can research what their best treatment is. Next. So why renewed hope? Anyone can do research, but an expert will do it faster and better. So this is my patient who I introduced you at the beginning. It's 3 years later. He got to see his daughter grow, and he still has his tongue, and he still can talk and swallow. So we have a website that my friends here helped with. The one last thing I want to say about my dad, I came into this because when I was 7, he got misdiagnosed. He had a cancer that got missed for 2 years. He died when I was 14. So I saw him go from 180 to 100 pounds. I basically, at the end, had to carry him to use facilities, everything. So any patient that I help, I always think I'm helping my dad. Thank you.
Well, your dad was a very, very smart man, but if you're not a doctor, you're a bum. I congratulate you on being a doctor, and a very good one at that. I do have a question. With resources such as the American Cancer Society and the National Cancer Institute, aren't there resources already that can help people to find proper medical care for diagnosed cancer or tumors?
Well, the answer is those resources don't have the expertise. You need a doctor. And there are obviously it's kind of by chance of what path you end up going when you get diagnosed almost with anything. Who ends up being your doctor? You either talk to friends who's good, but the issues end up being that there is no website that will help you decide. The one good thing in cancer, there's something called NCCN, and those are guidelines. And in the future, we will have more and more guidelines that things are kind of standardized. But even with that, doctors, it's the art of medicine, not just the science. So every case is individualized. And you can even try to look up your tumor stage to figure out, okay, what kind of treatment. But there are so many options and new options coming all the time that, as I say to people, I bought a car recently. I had worked my best deal, got $5,000 off the MSRP. Somebody said, oh, you should use a car buyer. So I hired a guy. He cost $700. He saved me another $5,000. So having an expert, and he did it in an hour. So having an expert navigate for you is what the future of medicine would be.
And I think people will search you out too. They'll try and find a service that you're offering. But let me ask you this. If you were looking for financing and I said, so tell me your plan, how will you make money on this? Will you charge by the hour? You charge by the referral? How will you make money?
So Grand Rounds got $155 million. They basically charge a flat fee of $8,000. But they still use our old system where they have experts at great universities. But you see one person, basically that person's going to treat you, but they will still steer you in one direction. So having an advocate that has no conflict of interest will look after your rights. So we have talked about doing a scaled model based on how much services a patient needs. Because obviously if they need a full service where I have to call around the US, different specialists to find out what they think the best cancer is, it'll be much more. But actually, I don't need any financing. It's not that much. Basically, you build a website. It's really the expertise, marketing, that will be the only expense. Everything else. And the other thing I've thought about, there have been people that have said, well, you can't do it all alone. If it builds, how are you gonna find people? But having been in the field 21 years, you know who's good and you know who's great. And in 3 years, we're going to be looking at bundled payments. So I'm actually, as an oncologist, I'm okay for 3 years. But beyond that, who knows how we're going to finance it or what we're going to do. There'll be plenty of people looking for work.
Quick.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Dr. Lum. Such a passionate presentation. Appreciate your commitment. Love the idea of the tumor board. I think that's so wonderful. And a virtual tumor board. But you talked about MD Anderson and other experts. Do you believe that you'll be able to get them on board with participating?
I do, because of the fact that I think this is the model for the future. The big cancer centers are basically looking at, okay, how can we attract more, because they're in private practice like we are. So basically, if you say, okay, I have a patient and it will take, an hour of your time, I think in the end, the way that our medical system will work will be how we treat patients the best. And if you can get the greatest minds or people that basically will look at a case and say, I can give you an opinion, they will want to do it because the patients will want to go there.
So I missed the part. So who's going to ultimately pay for the service?
The patient will pay for the service. So this is kind of the ultimate concierge medicine. Now, there are...
Let me just congratulate you on proposing something in the healthcare arena, and you're not asking the hospital to pay for it for the first time.
But this will have applications for B2B, because if you can show, there's a lot of waste in duplicate diagnostic tests, and they don't always order the right test. There is a lot of waste because if a patient recurs or they pass away, think about how much a business loses because of the misdiagnosis. So you can show the businesses, hey, this is a great service to offer your employees, your patients. You can scale it. So, and I think it would scale all over the U.S.
I love the idea, and let me just say you referenced other experts. I would have liked to have seen the site, your slide reference the experts right here in Ventura County, because we have a lot of great experts right here.
That is true. Well, that's a great question. And if someone in this room can figure out how to make it uniform, that you can send it anywhere in the country, you will be a billionaire. But it would basically be done the same way I do it now with my patients. I mean, you can get release forms. They fax you the records. You can send them over a confidential email, so it's not a problem.
There's artificial intelligence, IBM Watson, that's currently doing the same thing. It's aggregating data to make the most accurate diagnoses. So this seems kind of similar, except you're doing with humans. How would you differentiate? How would you differentiate the product?
Okay, do you want a computer deciding what kind of cancer treatment you're going to have, or would you rather meet with a person? So I've talked with actually a lot of people here this weekend because they go, oh, okay, I had a mother-in-law that had a giant tumor in her thigh, 20 centimeters. And they went to one place in another major university where they had chemotherapy and then it was resected. And they ended up having to take the nerve. So they asked me, okay, well, how would you have done differently? And I go, well, there's a guy at UCLA, and he is one of the 3 world's experts at sarcoma surgery. So I would have gotten a second opinion from him to say, do we need to sacrifice the nerve? Because part of it, the patient wants certainty. You're about to make it so that she can't walk. So would you trust that to a computer, or would you rather have a surgeon that had 30 years of experience? Thank you.
Wait, before you go. I think concierge medicine is a concept that isn't well known to a lot of people. It's been available for a while, particularly to affluent people, but it sounds like yours is a practice that could be brought down to a level that is almost affordable to anyone, especially if they were in that disastrous situation should they get cancer.
Correct. And in fact, one thing I didn't even point out is that if you think about what the market in China or India would be for something like this, there are people that travel 12 hours on a flight and pay $80,000 to go to a major university to try to get some treatments from them, only to find out their disease is too advanced. And they could have found that out online through our service before they traveled.
You're very passionate about that, and I mean, I applaud that because that will carry you a long way. The need was very well expressed. I think it's an area that we could relate to. My congratulations, good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is at the end of the day a specialized Me Too version of Ground Round? Because I'm looking through the website and it's really quite nice the way they've laid it.
Oh, yeah, Grand Rounds does a great job, but they do not specialize in cancer. So they will send you to one specialist, which is pretty much the same as what we do through which I said is a narrow focus. This, basically, since I have no financial, I'm not treating the patient. So I'll give them all the information. And if I don't have the information, I can get them to a specialist that does.